stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. To those guests who've just joined us, welcome. Our next stop is the Magic Kingdom. For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the door. Stay clear of the door. Ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching our station at the entrance to Main Street, USA.
Welcome aboard the Monday Morning Monorail podcast. This is Justin Monorail, and this is episode number 259 of the Monday Morning Monorail podcast. Today's Monday, July the 7th, 2025. I hope you all had a very safe and fun July 4th, and you got to blow up a lot of things. I hope that you got to eat a lot of hot dogs, and I hope that you, most importantly, got to spend a lot of time with your loved ones and get a little time off, hopefully, from work as well. But, you know, we don't take time off here at the Monday Morning Monorail podcast. I say that jokingly because, of course, I wasn't here last week. But this week, Landon and Steffers are not here. I'm filling the gap. I am going to take this monorail through the week all by my onesie. But I think I can do it because I've got you guys here with me, and we're going to make it happen. The reason I'm recording all by myself today is because I'm actually going to be traveling home to Knoxville to celebrate the 4th of July with my family. May's going with me. Casey's going with me. We're flying up today as I'm recording this on Thursday, and then we won't be flying back till Sunday evening. So there really won't be time to record anything, although I will be hanging out with Landon in person. So that'll be very, very cool. We're going to do that. We're going to go to a minor league baseball game on Saturday. So looking forward to checking that out. But I'm looking forward to talking to you all about Walt Disney World news this week. And I've got some headlines to share with you. But before we get into that, I do want to say, as of Sunday, July 7th, so yesterday, if you're listening to this podcast on drop day, Tom Sawyer Island and the Liberty Square Riverboat have officially closed and will be removed from Walt Disney World. Of course, this is making way for Piston Peak and Villains Land that will come later, probably when, Lord willing, we all see the day when Villains Land opens at the Magic Kingdom. But Piston Peak, probably be a couple of years before it's totally done. I really think that'll be a 2027 thing, but we'll see. That's fingers crossed, and hopefully things move along quickly. I know they're already clearing land, and they're going to be removing a large portion of the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island rather quickly to make way for the new expansions. Expansion is good. New things are good, but it is sad to lose things that we've had since really when the park opened. So in order to officially honor those, I'm going to call them both attractions today, I am going to be bringing back a M34D from the past for both of those attractions. So I think these both came in year one of the podcast. Maybe we might have done Tom Sawyer Island year one and then Liberty Square Riverboat a little later, or vice versa. But either way, we did deep dives on both of these things in the past. So I'm going to pop those into the podcast today so you can take a little walk down memory lane and remember these awesome attractions that we're going to miss, but understand that it's time to move forward. I know the big thing about Tom Sawyer Island, it's hard to get to, and if you do get over there, it's not necessarily very ADA compliant anymore. It would definitely be hard to get around if you had mobility issues. The Liberty Square Riverboat's great. I enjoy it. I've suffered burns from the steam coming out of the smokestacks on that thing. But I think it's a nice, relaxing thing. And again, I'm always a proponent of varied experiences in the Magic Kingdom and theme parks in general. So I like having something that's a nice, relaxing ride on the river where you get to just sort of hang out, take a little break. You didn't have to wait long to get on that thing. It's not like, if you plan it right, you're not going to have to wait at all. You pretty much can walk on the riverboat when it's time to go. Tom Sawyer Island, you got to plan out a little bit because you got to ride a raft over there, and then you're going to be walking around. It's not really a break from the heat, but it is a break from the hustle and bustle of the park, and it's a nice way to get your kids out in an area that's a little less populated. They can run around, be kids for a little while, and I think those things are good things. I'm not a person who's going to be dancing on the graves of either one of these attractions, but I am okay with moving on. I'm okay with change. I know it's good. So I just want to honor them in the best way that I think that we can today, which is to bring back a little M34D throwback. So that'll be Landon and I talking about both of those things, and I'll pop those into the end of today's episode. But before we get to that, let's talk about a little Walt Disney World news. So I shall delay us no further. I've got my swimmies on. I've got my Speedo on. Let's jump off the high dive. That's right, dreamers. I'm back. I was gonna say we're back, but I'm back today with headlines from Walt Disney World, and I have scoured the internet. I have visited dismornings.com, just as you should. I have gathered all the information that is important if you are going to be traveling to Walt Disney World in the near future, and things you want to know so you're plugged in and, you can have the best vacation you can possibly have, or just get a little taste of the Disney magic when you're away. We're going to start in Epcot. So Test Track 3.0, we all know it will be opening July 22nd, but ahead of that, we have pass holder previews and Club 33 and Golden Oak and DVC previews, all of this coming ahead of the official opening day, July 22nd. Disney sent out emails last week. I, as a pass holder, of course, did not get the emails announcing the pass holder previews for Test Track. I'm not sure how I ended up on the naughty list. We may have some theories that are being batted around on the Discord, but I didn't get the email. Luckily, this was not one of those situations where in the email there was a link that you had to click that would take you to the site to make your reservation for a day and time for your pass holder preview. Instead, they're going to do these pass holder previews the way they've done it in the past. They did this for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. That may have been the first one they did this way. But essentially, if you're a pass holder, you needed to make a reservation on one of the AP pass holder preview days at Epcot. And then at 7 a.m. on that day, you need to wake up and then try to join the virtual queue for that pass holder preview. So the details are as follows. Annual pass holder preview dates for Test Track will be July 13th through the 16th. So that's this coming Sunday through the 16th, which is Wednesday. And then July 18th and 19th. It skips July 17th. As a reminder, cast member and friends and family are able to preview the attraction now. Other affinity groups such as Club 33, Golden Oak, and Disney Vacation Club have separate preview dates. Club 33 and Golden Oak is July 11th, Disney Vacation Club July 12th. In order to enjoy the annual pass holder preview, pass holders will be required to join a virtual queue. Standard virtual queues apply, such as the need to have a valid admission and sometimes a Disney Park Pass reservation. Here's what you need to know. Virtual queue distribution times will be at 7 a.m. and 1 p.m., and reservations will be able to be made through the My Disney Experience app. For the 7 a.m. distribution, annual pass holders will be required to have an Epcot Disney Park Pass reservation. For the 1 p.m. virtual queue distribution, any annual pass holders with valid admission will be able to join. A park reservation to the theme park is not required. So then, hypothetically, at 1 o'clock on any of the days where there's an annual pass holder preview, a pass holder without a park pass, without a reservation, not in the parks, could open their app and try to join the virtual queue at 1 p.m. So this is why it makes it important to have a reservation on that day and try to join the 7 a.m. because 1 p.m. could be an absolute free-for-all. Pass holders do not need to have entered a theme park when they request to join the virtual queue. And then annual pass holders will only be allowed to join the virtual queue once per day. So I did make my reservation. I am on the calendar. We will now wait with anxious breath to see if I can get that 7 a.m. virtual queue on the day of my park pass reservation. So fingers crossed for me out there. Cross your fingers, cross your toes, and we'll see how it goes. Our good friend Cocktail Bob actually was able to already preview the ride because he had a connection through someone who was involved in the construction, the refurbishment of Test Track. So he did go and ride the new ride. And one of the cool things is they did update the ride photo. So that's a cool addition. No spoilers. I'm not going to share any spoilers here right now, but, and I'm not going to speak for Bob, but, I think the ride is mostly, if you were to close your eyes, you wouldn't know maybe or close your eyes, plug your ears. You wouldn't know you're on a different ride. Same ride track. The cars are the same. They just have a new coat of paint, but there are new ride scenes and it's a new sort of story. And the queue, I just want to say again, I was right. They did take out the customization of the vehicle portion. High five to me, and thanks to Steffers and Landon for making sure that they shared. I was right. I get to take another victory lap on Test Track when I go on my preview day. So, you know what? Twice. It's happened twice in like the last couple of months that I've been right about something. The Friday the 13th announcement for Universal Halloween Horror Nights, and now this. I'm on fire. Two in June? That can't be. In the long run of this podcast, we've been doing this now, 7 years? How many times have I been absolutely right about a prediction? I would say you could count that on one hand. It has happened, but 2 in a month, that's something. Moving on to the actual opening date of Test Track, which is going to occur on July 22nd, when Test Track 3.0, as we lovingly call it here on the Monday Morning Monorail podcast, opens on July 22nd. There will be some Lightning Lane Multipass changes coming to Epcot. Test Track and Soarin' are going to swap places. So for now, Soarin' has been in the top tier, where you get to choose one of those if you're picking your Lightning Lane passes ahead of time, and then Test Track, of course, wasn't even an option. But when Test Track comes back online, it is going to join the upper tier, and Soarin' is going to move down to the lower tier. So here's what the lineup's going to look like as of July 22nd. You can choose one of these when you're making your Lightning Lane selections ahead of time. Frozen Ever After, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, or Test Track. And then from the bottom tier or lower tier, you've got the Disney and Pixar Short Film Festival, Journey into Imagination with Figment, Living with the Land, Mission Space, The Seas with Nemo and Friends, Soaring Around the World, Spaceship Earth, and Turtle Talk with Crush. Of course, you get to make 2 selections, or if you don't want one of the top tier items, you can pick all 3 from the lower tier. And then don't forget, once you are in the park and you scan into your first attraction, you can make that 4th reservation, and you can start, planning your day from there. So, it's what we always call the rolling 4th. You scan into an attraction and then you get to make, so you can always have 3, basically, is the idea. So enjoy your Lightning Lane experiences responsibly, is all I'll say. There are good choices, there are bad choices. I recently saw someone say, if you can make a lower tier selection as early in the day as possible, that could be a good idea, because you get in there and then you can pick from the top tier or the lower tier for that rolling 4th, which is a good point. But the whole reason that they do this is so that people have a chance to pick one of those top tier attractions ahead of time. And so that way they're not all like snatched up. These are, considered to be the attractions that are most in high demand in that park. So they want to give everybody who gets a Lightning Lane ahead of time, purchases the Lightning Lane ahead of time, a fair chance to get one of those at least. So that's why they do it this way. So that strategy could work. It may not work. It's, your experience may vary. One of the things, of course, you'll notice is that Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is not part of the Lightning Lane Multipass. And that's because that attraction is individual Lightning Lane. So that will work on a separate system where you actually pay individually if you want a Lightning Lane for Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. And you don't have to have a multipass to pay for the individual Lightning Lane for Guardians. So you've got options. You can pay for the multipass and do standby for Guardians. You could pay for multipass and the single pass, and then you've got 4 Lightning Lanes ahead of time. Or you could just pay for the individual Lightning Lane for Guardians, just have that one, and then leave the rest to chance. By the way, Test Track will have single rider when it opens on July 22nd, just like it used to, which was always a pretty good option. to get on there, especially if you are there individually. It's a pretty good option to get on that ride a little faster. Remy's has single rider now too. So just some things to think about as you plan your day and navigate around Epcot. And looking ahead as we are, one of the best times of year to visit Epcot is during the International Food and Wine Festival. One of the things that makes that festival so great, not just the food, not just the wine, but of course, the always anticipated Eat to the Beat concert series. And this past week, Disney announced the lineup, as it is today, for the 2025 Epcot Eat to the Beat concert series. And here is what they said. Welcome back to the Epcot Eat to the Beat concert series, presented by Florida Blue, returning in 2025. One of the headlining events of the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival, the Eat to the Beat concert series is returning with help from the team at Disney Live Entertainment, who have cooked up a lineup full of flavor for young kids, Gen Z, and music lovers of all ages. Get ready to sip, snack, and sing along because we are bringing the beat back this fall. So there are some new additions this year. There are some old favorites. Of course, Joey Fatone and Friends is going to be there. Of course, we've got Tiffany in the lineup. Of course, we have Hanson. Smash Mouth is coming back. Hooba Stank is coming back. So all of these, are people, the Baja Men, Boys to Men. These are bands you could have seen in the past. We have some standouts that I'm excited about that are new for this year. One of them, Bowling for Soup. Is going to be playing the Eat to the Beat concert series. That's November 14th through the 15th. And the Beach Boys, as of right now, are the final act performing November 16th through the 17th. The Beach Boys. I will shout out Jordan Sparks will be part of the lineup from November 9th through the 10th. The Wanted 2.0, October 10th through 11th. Ben Rector, September 21st to 22nd. And, lastly, for now, the last new addition is September 5th and 6th is KT Tunstall. So lots of very cool things. Starship back on the list. The Fray, I think I might have said. David Archuleta. A lot of good options. I don't see Sugar Ray, which of course makes me sad. I would love to see Sugar Ray on this list, but a lot of really good things to go see, and music to serve as the backdrop as you're stuffing your face with some delicious food and washing it down with some delicious wine. Good times to be had. And don't forget, one of the things you can do, because especially for the very popular acts that are going to be performing this year, you can always make a reservation for the dining package. So basically, the way this works is you reserve a spot for you and your party at one of the included dining locations that are part of the Eat to the Beat dining package. You go have your meal at that restaurant, and then that gives you reserved seating at the Eat to the Beat concert series. So that's always a good option if you don't want to necessarily line up super early, but it is still, first come, first serve seating. You will have reserved seating, but if you want the best seating you can get, you still have to get there a little bit early, but at least you'll have a seat. So you can make those reservations for the dining package beginning July 16th. And that is coming up very, very soon, next week. So that is all the news from Epcot this week. Just one thing I wanted to share in Magic Kingdom, and then we will get over to the M34D throwback segment. But a new shop opened in the Magic Kingdom, and it's over in Frontierland. As we change the look of Frontierland and Adventureland, we do have a brand new shopping outlet, and it is a hat store. A new hat shop opened in Frontierland at Magic Kingdom, replacing a sweets and treats shop that's been closed for more than 5 years. The Prairie Outpost, formerly a candy shop, is now a Chapel Hats location, offering a variety of hats for guests visiting Magic Kingdom. So, some of the Disney blog news outlets have gone in there. They've taken pictures. And if you've ever been to the Chapel Hats, there's a location in Disney Springs, and a lot of interesting hats, a lot of hats that maybe you would only have for a very special occasion, maybe for Halloween, maybe if you were going to go to a murder mystery party and you needed to dress up. I don't know. They have some costume type hats. But I thought it was interesting. They do sell, there's caps that they sell in there. And I thought it was interesting that they're not Disney themed at all. They just, like, some of the caps say cowboy hat or things like that on them. So, I mean, that's fine. It would have been cool if maybe this version of that store, and maybe this is something that happens eventually, if it had hats that you couldn't find in the rest of the park, because maybe they're a little bit more upscale type hats, but they still have a Disney theme to them in some way. Maybe there are some in there. I didn't see any like that, but in the pictures that I've seen, and I haven't been able to visit it myself, but I don't know. That's just my thought. So, and it's, what is my thought worth? It's worth nothing. I'm sure it'll be fine. Maybe we're going to see some fun hats, people walking around Magic Kingdom, looking like they're going to steampunk convention. I don't know, but the hat store is open, so go check it out if you want a fancy hat. When you go to Magic Kingdom, though, aren't you kind of looking for, like, ears? Mickey ears? I don't know. Anyways, okay. So let's get to the matter at hand here. So if you happen to be lucky enough to be visiting the Magic Kingdom around the July 4th weekend, you would have had your last chance to visit Tom Sawyer Island and ride the Liberty Square Riverboat. They are officially going to be operating the final time, or have operated for the final time as you're hearing this, on Saturday, July 6th. Both attractions officially close Sunday, July 7th. Tom Sawyer Island is a walk-through attraction inspired by Mark Twain's stories, and it has been a guest favorite for decades, offering a rustic escape via log raft and an immersive exploration of caves, forts, and trails. The Liberty Square Riverboat, the Liberty Belle, has long provided scenic cruises around rivers of America, offering views of Frontierland and Liberty Square. Both attractions are being permanently removed as Disney prepares to redevelop the area into Piston Peak National Park and Villains Land in the future. So here we are, saying goodbye to a couple more classic attractions. I know, maybe either one of these didn't have quite the backlash maybe that we had when we removed things like Muppet Vision 3D or all of Muppet Courtyard, or even, throwing it back to things like removing the Great Movie Ride, or different things like that. Yeah, people seem to be a lot more okay about these attractions closing down, and that's fine. Different strokes for different folks, but I'm going to miss them both, and I do feel a little bit of sadness for people that aren't going to experience these things in the future if they've never been to the Magic Kingdom. But it is making way for new things. But before we say goodbye forever to both of these attractions, why don't we throw it back? Let me now throw it over to me and Landon as we do a deep dive on both the Liberty Square Riverboat and Tom Sawyer Island. Landon, Justin Monorail, take it away. Welcome back to the Monday Morning Monorail podcast. This is M34D. Well, today it's more like M33D because there is no Landon the Dawes Dome, and it's just solo Justin M34D. So M33DJ or something like that. It's tough to follow that wall-to-wall Haunted Mansion action, but we're going to ease our way back into it with a relaxing ride down the river. That's because we're going to be talking about the Liberty Square Riverboat. That's right. As Disney describes it, you can take off on a scenic half-mile adventure into the wilds of old America aboard a steam-powered paddle wheeler, board the colonial American-inspired Liberty Belle Riverboat nestled in the heart of Liberty Square, and embark on a relaxing journey around Tom Sawyer Island along the rivers of America. I usually start this out by describing what the attraction is, but it's pretty straightforward. This is a real functioning riverboat, much like the train around Magic Kingdom. This is a fully functioning, exactly as it's supposed to be, riverboat, powered by steam, a big paddle wheel on the back of the boat, and the only thing that makes this thing a little less than just an authentic riverboat moving, it's fully seaworthy, it floats, it functions just like a boat should, but it is on a big steel beam that guides it around the rivers of America, so it stays exactly on path, So you see exactly what the Imagineers wanted you to see, and there's no chance that it's going to veer off and crash into anything or anything's going to go wrong. So a controlled situation for sure, but this is truly a riverboat. It's a nice little break. It's located in Liberty Square. You can board. It takes about 17 minutes to go around the river. And while you're on this journey, you're not just going to be floating around looking at the Magic Kingdom. You will be seeing that. You get a really good view of the Magic Kingdom, actually. But you're also going to see a few other things as well. You're going to see an early American settlement, an idyllic Native American village, Harper's Mill, Fort Langhorne, Wilson's Cave Inn. You'll see some woodland animals, and you'll get unique views of Big Thunder Mountain, Splash Mountain, and the Haunted Mansion along the way. Of course, Disney's going to tell you a story, because what is Walt Disney World if not one big story end to end? So the story you're going to hear while you're on the riverboat is actually narrated by American author Mark Twain. And Mark Twain is going to basically tell you a story about when traveling was just as much about discovering new things as it was about transportation, getting from one place to the next. The Liberty Bell, the boat that you ride on, is actually a reproduction of a boat that you might have seen ferrying people up and down the Mississippi River. Powered by an actual steam engine, it converts water from the rivers America into steam that powers the paddle wheel. It's 47 feet long, and it has 4 decks. 3 of them, I know for sure that you can actually choose to enjoy the journey on. One of them is the pilot house, the top deck. And apparently every excursion, someone could be chosen to go up and enjoy the ride from the pilot house, but that's not a place where everybody can go gather and congregate. The 3 decks you can actually choose to enjoy the ride on are the promenade deck, which includes a salon and a collection of vintage photos and maps, the Texas deck, or the sun deck, and the main deck, which includes the boiler and pistons that run the paddle wheel. The boat holds about 450 people, and there is some seating, but it's limited seating on all of the decks. A few facts about this. The Liberty Bell was actually a concept that Walt had before Disney World or Disneyland ever were created. It's similar to the Haunted Mansion in that fact, in that Walt kind of envisioned what we know today as Liberty Bell located at the Disney Studio in Burbank. So originally the plan was to have a park that was right across the street from the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, and this was going to be part of that. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough room to actually create this experience. So then Disneyland was conceptualized and created, and the riverboat made its way to Disneyland first, and then of course was duplicated and brought over to Disney World. Walt felt so passionately about the riverboat that he actually contributed funds from his own account to construct the original steamboat. Obviously, transportation has always been a very big deal to Walt. It always was. You can see it in the way he had such a passion for flight and for the trains. You know, he was a huge fan of trains, but also boats and cars and buses, everything. Like, transportation was one of the things that Walt was a really big enthusiast for. So this fit right into that wheelhouse. The original attraction at Disneyland was actually called the Mark Twain Riverboat. That riverboat was duplicated, brought over to Walt Disney World, and there were actually 2 riverboats, because they had a little more room. There were 2 riverboats at Walt Disney World. One was known as the Joe Fowler Riverboat, and the other was Richard F. Irvine. Joe Fowler was actually the admiral who helped oversee the creation of the original riverboat at Disneyland, while Richard F. Irvine was one of the people who helped oversee the construction of all of Walt Disney World. Back in 1996, Walt Disney World actually refurbished the boats and relaunched as the Liberty Bell. And so then at that time, there was just the one boat. And then the names Joe Fowler and Richard F. Irvin were actually assigned to ferry boats that bring you to the Magic Kingdom. So they're still out there, still in use. The Joe Fowler Riverboat that was actually created for Disneyland doesn't exist anymore. In 1980, the boat was damaged in a backlot area, and the damage was so significant that they ultimately just decided not to repair the riverboat because it just didn't make financial sense to do it. So the mechanical components of that boat have been repurposed, and they're now at Tokyo Disneyland, still in use, and that boat's name is actually Roy O. Disney. I mentioned already the boat holds 450 people. It's a lot of people. It's a people eater. And out of all those guests, there is the possibility that you could be selected to ride in the captain's quarters up top. And another thing, one of the things we talked about from our trip in July was that you can get these for free. You can ask cast members that are attending and operating the transportation systems, the buses, the monorails, the boats, for transportation cards. And they're actually these trading cards that actually represent the modes of transportation. Well, you can actually get one of those from the riverboat too. So if you are riding the Liberty Bell, make sure to ask a cast member if they have the transportation cards, because you can get a riverboat card from them. And then the last thing that you might notice is that the building where you board the Liberty Bell is one of the it is the only building in Walt Disney World, or in the Magic Kingdom at least, that doesn't use forced perspective. And the main reason for this is because people believe it's basically to kind of hide the visual of the riverboat when it's parked at the building, because it kind of sticks out a little bit where it's at. So it's a bit of camouflage, but that's the main reason. You know, the forced perspective is used a lot throughout the park. The main place that you're going to notice it for sure is when you're walking down Main Street. You'll notice that as you look at the buildings from bottom to top, the floors actually get smaller, and that's to make them look farther away from you, so it makes the buildings look even taller than they actually are. So this building is exactly as tall as you see it. So those are the main things. It's a relaxing ride, not exciting. It's something the whole family can do, and it's an original. It's something that Walt himself had a passion for, and I think it's another one of those things you could probably add to the list of your degree from Walt Disney World University. I think you've got to experience it at some point. It's probably not going to be the most exciting thing, but it's a nice little break from the hustle and bustle of the park. If you're a fan of Liberty Boat, the Liberty Bell, let me know. Shout out on Twitter, shout out on Facebook. Tell us what you think about it. I think it's a nice feature. I think the Rivers of America is really cool. I like the fact that it just adds to the variety of experiences that you can have in the Magic Kingdom Park. And I'm excited for when it comes back from refurbishment. So that's all I've got for you today. Joining me today, of course, is my pal and yours, Landoz. Please go follow him, Landon the Dawsdone. Welcome back to the monorail, Landon.
What's up, buddy? It's always fun to be in my cart of the monorail, though we haven't been in here in a couple months, and I'm starting to think I didn't exactly clean out the fridge the last time we were using this cart of the monorail. So I apologize if there's a fun odor. Let's just blame it on the Phoenicians.
Yeah, we'll thank them and blame them at the same time. So, Landon, I don't know. It's been a while. So, if you have forgotten what we do during this segment of the show, let me remind you. We are taking a walk, a virtual walk, an audio walk, if you will, through the Magic Kingdom Park and reviewing the attractions and rides that make up the Walt Disney World Magic Kingdom. We started with day one attractions. We actually made it all the way through those, which I was impressed we even did that. But now we've moved on to things that have opened post day one, and today's edition is, as far as I'm aware, it's no different. I was checking the notes. I wasn't alive at this time, so I can't verify. So, maybe go back and fact check me. Feel free to yell at me on the internet, but I don't think...
That is what the internet's for.
I don't think Tom Sawyer Island was open day one. Did you see anything different than that? I don't think so.
I did not find anything different, and so we will both be saying it did not open day one. And if we're wrong, come at us, Disney dorks.
Yeah, bring it.
You nerds.
And Tom Sawyer Island, if you're keeping score at home, this is one that you can add to the Justin Monorail Never Have I Ever list, because Tom Sawyer Island, I have not set foot on this particular plot of land in the Walt Disney World Resort. Have you?
Nope. Cannot say that I have either.
Great. So maybe today...
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, maybe we're done. We'll talk about it. Maybe we convince ourselves that it's something we ought to try to do at some point. Who's to say?
Indeed. Who is to say?
Yeah. So to kick things off, let's explain what Tom Sawyer Island is. If you want to think about the Magic Kingdom as the island of Manhattan, a busy metropolis of attractions and rides and things to grab your attention, Tom Sawyer Island is like the Central Park of Manhattan Island, because it's a little oasis a little getaway that takes you to another place in time. And it is an island. You have to ride a boat to get there. You can hop on a raft and you go on over the rivers of America to access Tom Sawyer Island. And then once you get there, it is a exploratory walkthrough attraction similar to the Swiss Family Treehouse, but much fewer stairs, I guess I should say. It has hills. It's got a cave, a windmill, a stockade. There's all kinds of things to check out. And I got a pretty good view of it on this last trip to Walt Disney World because one of the things I can take off that scoreboard of Never Have I Ever is the Liberty Square Riverboat. As you ride the Liberty Square Riverboat, you actually get a really nice view because it circles Tom Sawyer Island. And it's nice. It looks nice. I could see people that they looked like they were having a good time over there. Let me ask you, Lena, why is it that you haven't done Tom Sawyer Island?
I'll be honest, if you've listened to this podcast before, you'll have probably heard me say this about certain other attractions. Does it have a roller coaster? No? And that's why.
No.
To me, I know this is an attraction, finger quotes, but to me, this isn't an attraction. And we've talked about it in the past. The most valuable thing, most important currency you have inside Walt Disney World parks is time. And I don't want to spend my important time on Tom Sawyer's Island.
Yeah, okay. That's fair enough. I mean, I think I've probably made the same choice.
Now, if like Rush's Geddy Lee was there, maybe, just maybe, I would go on Tom Sawyer's Island.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that might bring me over there as well. You got to love Rush. But yeah, I would say it's probably the same thing. You know, I drew the comparison to the Swiss Family Treehouse just a minute ago, and one of the things it does have in common, aside from you have to walk all over it to explore it, is that it is not accessible to guests in wheelchairs. So another thing that if the park was created today, there would be no Tom Sawyer, not at least the way it is, there would be no Tom Sawyer Island. So that's an interesting kind of thing to point out. I think it flies under the radar. It's one of those things that even when we were at the Magic Kingdom, it was spring break, the park was slammed. As I mentioned, the lines were ridiculous for even the most undesirable attractions.
I mean, heck, you were talking about an Epcot. There was, an hour wait for the Grand Fiesta Tour?
It wasn't far off. It was really close. So, yeah.
And that is not an undesirable attraction, don't get me wrong.
No, but
when was the last time you heard of an hour wait for the Grand Fiesta Tour?
Well, so for the Magic Kingdom, you're talking about the Magic Carpets of Aladdin. The wait was like nearly an hour all day long. And I'm thinking, why? So...
Yeah, that's a great question. Why?
Yeah. We fast passed it just because it was one we could snag. And I was like, here's another one. Cross that one off the list. I've done that one now. Never going to do it again. Don't need to, but I've done it. But anyway, so I think this is a good thing, a good option. We were talking about exploring World Showcase in the last episode and how if you don't slow down and take the time to explore those countries, you're really missing out on something where Disney went to great effort to include a lot of detail and a lot to see, a lot to take from it. And you get from that experience what you put into it. And I think that's going to be similar for Tom Sawyer's Island. I would say it's probably going to be more fun for the kiddies. Unless you are a kid at heart like me, I can tell you that there's a big suspension bridge that you can go across. I love stuff like that. Am I going to jump on the bridge? Absolutely, I'm going to jump on the bridge. No doubt I'm going to do that. So, and I like the fact that you have to ride a raft over to it. That makes it a little bit unique. I think it would be kind of fun to explore. I'll be honest, I read The Adventures of Huck Finn, and I don't remember anything about that book. In school, we all had to read Mark Twain books, right? Do you remember any of them? Maybe pieces?
I remember having to read them.
Yeah.
What was in the books I had to read, I'm sure there were words of some sort, but I don't remember them.
I don't remember a lot of pictures. And
no, don't remember a single picture.
Yeah, but there are a lot of details that if you were a big fan of Mark Twain or a big fan of Huck Finn, then you would be able to pick up on some of this stuff. It does mention that there's a large water wheel on Harper's Mill, which is an homage to one of Disney's earliest animated films, The Old Mill. That's pretty nice. Here's something that you probably wouldn't see created today. Injun Joe's Cave, right?
Oh, boy.
Right?
Wow.
That's
even though it's kind of an old school thing, here in 2019, I'm still pulling at the collar going, "Rrr."
I know. I don't feel comfortable saying it, but it's right here in the notes.
I'm glad you were the one that said it.
Yeah. So
we're going to get so many letters now.
Yeah, I know. There used to be something they would do, and I think it was a bit to drive some traffic over there, where they would actually hide a paintbrush on Tom Sawyer's Island.
That's right. I remember reading a bunch of, or seen a bunch of videos on YouTube, particularly Disney Food Guide or Disney Food Blog. Something. Shout out to AJ and all the work they do over there.
Yeah.
But in one of their videos, they did mention at one point they would hide paintbrushes around Tom Sawyer Island, and if you were the first one to turn it into a cast member at the beginning of the day, you would get like maybe an extra fast pass or something like that. But to borrow a line from AJ from that video, they were stolen, and this is why we can't have nice things.
Exactly. People don't know how to act.
No, it's like I'm on vacation. There are no rules that apply to me.
That's pretty much what people think when they're tourists. And listen, I suffer sometimes from the tourist thing too, but at least I don't think that I would have taken home that paintbrush. I would have been
stealing.
Yeah, I would have been pretty excited to get that golden fast pass.
Absolutely, seriously, yeah. That should have been enough, but no. Apparently, people just want to steal because people suck.
Yeah. A couple of fun notes, because to be honest, I don't have a ton to say about Tom Sawyer's Island. I haven't been there. I read about it. I think it looks cool. I've watched a couple videos where people go over there. I think it's like I meant to say, when it's a busy park day, I think it's a nice option to kind of maybe get away from the crowds a little bit, because a lot of people aren't going to do that because they're so busy standing in line for Space Mountain, but or Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, I guess.
Literally just took the words out of my mind, because that's the only thing people stand in line for at Magic Kingdom, apparently.
Yeah. So maybe they're doing that, and it's a good way for you to get over there. But just reading a couple of the fun facts that I captured about this.
I'll be the judge of whether they're fun or not. Please continue.
You tell me if they're fun. According to The Hidden Magic of Walt Disney World by Susan Venus, the water flowing at the base of the crystal wall inside the ambush cave seems to be running uphill. It's an optical illusion, but apparently they make it appear that way.
Well, optical illusions do equal fun, so far you're 1 for 1. Please continue.
Okay. The settler's cabin found on Disneyland's Tom Sawyer Island used to be on fire.
Whoa, okay. That's fun.
Yeah, and I think I remember that, too. I think I remember reading something about that at some point. I don't know if that's true about the Magic Kingdom, but that's a cool, fun... and I guess I didn't say that this is something that, exists in both Disneyland and Walt Disney World.
So one of them apparently caught fire and burned down, according to that fun fact.
No, it was on fire for fun.
Oh, okay, by design, never mind.
By design, yeah. Via DisneyList.com, Fort Langhorne used to be known as Fort Sam Clemens, and the rafts, apparently, that take you back and forth are each named after a character from the book. So,
okay, those last two fun facts were kind of fun, but if you add them together, they're fun. Yeah. So, good job. I do deem these fun facts fun.
Do you think you'll ever visit Tom Sawyer's Island?
No. Sorry. I should probably let you finish your question. Please go ahead.
That's all. That was the question.
I've said my piece. This doesn't scream the reason why I go to the Walt Disney World parks. Now, maybe if I was in the situation where y'all were in, where it was like apparently everybody decided to go to the park that day, then I might find myself over at Tom Sawyer's Island just to get away from the bazillions of people. So in that instance, I would think about it, but normally probably not.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I would just say, I think if you've got smaller children who maybe aren't interested in doing some of the roller coasters, this is something you could do for the day. In a day where it's really busy for the park, you could do that. I have found Magic Kingdom is really good to kind of split in half, and I think if you could spend a whole day on the Adventureland, Frontierland, Liberty Square side, so basically going from, go from the hub, take a left, and then everything there on the left, and then stop at like Small World. Everything on the left side, if you're thinking about it geographically, or the west side, that's a day. And on a day where it's not crowded and you're getting a lot of stuff done, maybe you've ridden Haunted Mansion and Pirates twice, you go explore Tom Sawyer's Island. Or maybe you're a person like soon to be me, and you're going to be an Orlando local, and then maybe you've done a lot of stuff and you want to go visit Tom Sawyer.
Humble brag. Man, the Dillos are right. Y'all are quickly turning into villains.
We're villains. We are. We are. It's a heel turn just in time for WrestleMania.
Yep, swerve.
'Tis the season. So, and that's all I would say. It's not something, if you're going to Disneyland or Disney World, and this is a Disney World podcast that I just totally forgot for a minute, but if you're going to Disney World, you only have a day in the Magic Kingdom, don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of other really good things you need to see, unless the rides are not your speed.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I've got for this one, Landon. Anything else?
No. Okay. I don't have anything else to add.
All right. Well, Landon, thanks so much. Always a good time having you back in the M34D section of the monorail. We'll see you next week.
All right. See you then, bud.
The Monday Morning Monorail podcast is part of the Diz Mornings Network. Visit DizMornings.com for Walt Disney World news, rumors, trip planning advice, and our blog. You can also visit our merch shop and look good when you're traveling to the parks. Don't forget, if you're looking to book a vacation, you can fill out a form on the DizMornings.com website, and Nate or Steffers will reach out and help you get a great deal and take the stress away from booking your next trip to Walt Disney World, Universal, or beyond. Again, visit DizMornings.com for all your Monday Morning Monorail and Diz Mornings needs.